shall. Let's do it. This is Bane.
Yes.
I was born in it.
I was born in the cloud.
Have you just gone back to trying to break my spirit as I'm about to start the show now?
Yeah. Every week. We must break your spirit.
Hello Internet, I'm Richie and welcome to Sounds of Stadia SideQuest. This is a show where we take a step off the critical path and explore more of what the video game world has to offer. On this week's show, I'm joined by the one and only Mr. Chris.
Hello, Stadia Yo. Hello,
Oh,
Stadia Yo. Oh, sorry.
Can you tell we haven't had enough sleep?
Yeah.
And of course, the techie teacher himself, Mr. Tom.
Hello there. For some reason, I'm channeling my inner Bane today. I don't know why.
It's just one of them days.
It really is just one of those days.
Anyway, this week we're going to be talking about Stadia's most requested features. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. And hit the little bell so you get notified for when we actually drop content, because YouTube doesn't like to tell you. And we also, our YouTube memberships are live. So if you want to support us from as little as 99p, you can get early access to SideQuest, and it supports us massively. Nothing's kept across the different tiers, so just however much you're willing to support, it's all very much appreciated. And don't forget to check out other shows such as the Sounds of Stadia podcast, which comes out every single Monday on YouTube and podcast services, and our Thursday night live streams. Let's get into it. So, most requested features, because Stadia has come a long way over the last year. So there's a lot of features that were promised that are now with us, things like crowd choice, click to play, all that sort of stuff. But there is still some lacking things. So we figured we'll just go through maybe about 5 different ones that we believe are the most requesting or the most obviously missing features that would, if these were implemented, step the platform up to like the next level.
Yeah.
So this isn't an explicit top 5. Like
No.
there is no number one spot.
Yeah,
it's just the 5 most.
Nothing's in any real order. It's just an order that I've put them in on now.
Yeah. It's like,
yeah.
Fine. Well, if we put them in an order, people would disagree.
Yeah.
So
we're obviously always keen to hear everyone else's as well. So by all means, after you've heard our 5, leave yours in the comments below as well.
What the comments are for.
Absolutely. Let's get on with the show. Let's talk about it.
I think first, let's talk about one that you brought up, Tom, and that's Bluetooth controller support. Oh, well, turning on the Bluetooth features in the controller.
Yeah, I'm quite aware that the Chromecasts have particularly the Google TV Chromecast, the newest iteration of the device, has Bluetooth connectivity enabled. Well, it has the capability of doing it, but it's not quite been activated yet. We obviously have the ability to use our Stadia controllers wireless, and we were having a bit of a joke before the show of trying to remember back to the times when, even though we had the wireless controller, we couldn't actually use it without it being cabled, which is a whole thing in itself. But those days are long gone. So credit given where it's due. We have made some steps forward, but we can use controllers from other third parties as well, such as the PlayStation DualShock controllers, the Xbox controllers as well, and the likes. But they obviously have to be hardwired into the device using a USB if you're playing on a computer. It would be really nice to sort of open up this whole mantra of, play wherever you want, however you want, by enabling that Bluetooth feature so we could actually make those connections there. But not just with the controllers, but we're really kind of hopeful that we want to see more devices being allowed on there. Like, the first one for me that sticks out is Bluetooth headphones, like being able to just connect those up because,
people don't
want to be sitting there with a wire all the time.
The thing is, I think headphones is a big one because sometimes gaming headsets can be quite expensive. So people may already have a gaming headset lying around that is a Bluetooth one and want to be able to use it and then can't for arbitrary reasons, seemingly.
Definitely. But it extends a little bit further than that. Like, again, play however you want. We need some sort of connectivity for mouse and keyboard as well for people who might want to play those games like Humankind on a TV when that drops. not necessarily the most controller-friendly game, but still doable to an extent.
There is a way of tethering your controller, isn't there?
Yes.
I can't remember what the name of the feature was.
I guess we could just refer to it as the tether for the time being if it doesn't have an official name. But it's a solution, but it's still a sort of MacGyvered solution, isn't it? Really?
But that also takes away part of the play anywhere system, because if you're into PC gaming and you have a Chromecast already, but now you have to go about your controller so you can use your mouse and keyboard on the TV, and I haven't actually tested if that works, so I don't know if it will or not.
Plus, the tether requires an existing Stadia controller. You can't do it without this. So, like you say, it immediately puts up some sort of barrier, I suppose, for entry for that. So let's try to. We're kind of hopeful, I suppose, here. And Chris, I'm interested in how you feel about it, in particular, whether it actually matters to you. But I think it's one step closer to being able to make it fully accessible to anyone, really.
I would say what would be best for everyone is, we've said before about the control iterations, and that we would eventually hope to see an iteration of the Stadia controller. I would like an entire suite of Stadia equipment that is Stadia ready or Wi-Fi linked ready. So I know we're talking about Bluetooth specifically, but would an easy fix be a Stadia branded keyboard and mouse? Maybe not like a full QWERTY layout, maybe just cut the numlock and all the other icons, but like a generic QWERTY keyboard and a Stadia branded mouse that just directly links to Wi-Fi, but can also be used as Bluetooth as well. Rather than doing this whole tethering thing, that would be cool to see, like a Stadia branded, like Luminate and all the purple and orange and stuff.
I mean, I know like a lot of mechanical keyboards, they just have like an 87 key, which is basically your main part of the board, cut off the numlock, cut off, sometimes even cutting off F keys, just really, really stripped back. That's something like that could work quite nicely for Stadia. Personally, I do like my numpad though.
So maybe rather than calling it a requested feature of having the Bluetooth support there, maybe there is an avenue to, for the Stadia team to look down the accessibility market, really, into accessibility through accessories market, is what I should say. Spreading, like creating a bigger line of different types of devices we can use. But I still think, like, while that's great from a like a marketing point of view and trying to make a little bit of cash, a little bit more branding, I suppose, in a way, one of the whole reasons behind the service was to make it sort of playable anywhere by anyone. So that's why I think the Bluetooth should be sort of like quite a bit of a priority feature, really.
While we're talking about controls before we move on, do we know if Stadia has compatibility with the Xbox adaptive control?
I want to say yes, because I feel that I've seen something out there in the Twitterverse of somebody who has used it through the Stadia controller. But if anybody knows any more, again, let us know. But I feel relatively confident in that.
Yeah, I'd imagine the Xbox setup just sees it as like a generic USB controller.
I'd imagine it just sees it as an Xbox One controller, and that's why I think it probably, I would lean to guess it would. But that's something like the adaptive controller is such a win for accessibility in gaming.
It is. It's a great invention.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's so many more peripherals. We've actually alluded to it probably last 2 weeks on the podcast, but like I'd love to see like a Stadia branded Razer Kishi equivalent or a Backbone equivalent, because there's these gaps in the market, and I know we're saying about ease of use and accessibility, but Stadia at some point still needs to have their own options for people rather than buying third party. Like Razer are essentially making money off of Stadia with having no partnership. Like they're actually partnering with Microsoft and Samsung for the most part. And yet everyone out there I'm talking to, I'm recommending the Razer Kishi to best play Stadia on the move. So there is a gap. And
the thing is, I actually think a Stadia branded one, if it was around about the same price as the Stadia controller, would force things like the Kishi, the price down. Because I strongly believe, and I've said this many times, the Kishi is an awesome piece of tech that is massively overpriced for what it is.
Yeah. It just gives some options outside of just the Premier Edition. Like there's your Premier Edition with your Chromecast. There's the Portable Edition with your Kishi equivalent. And if you just want to play the games, you can just sign up anywhere. But I think they just need a few more avenues and options that doesn't require third-party dealings.
I don't mind third party, but I think it'd be nice to have licensed third party stuff if they want to go that way. You can get an Xbox Kishi.
Let's just remember that at the moment in the UK, for us in particular, we still can't buy the claw. So
yeah, well, claw grips are terrible anyway. Like they just don't work.
Yeah, different discussion for a different day. But
right.
yes,
let's get into our next one because we're off on a tangent there.
True that.
This one I'm going to throw out to you first, Chris, because we're going to be talking about trophies.
Or achievements.
Or achievements, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, I prefer trophies, but I guess they are officially achievements. Integration.
Yeah.
We need better achievement integration to such an extent that I do not give two shits about achievements on Stadia. Sorry, JP. Sorry, Stadia hunters. But at this moment, other than it pinging up when I unlock one, I can't. If you ask me right now, Chris, tell me the steps to get to your trophy list through the app or through the browser. I could maybe haphazardly guess my way through it, but could either of you two do it without looking, Tom?
No. I'm looking at something else. I'll discuss that in just a second. But
because it's hidden away, it's not readily accessible, and unfortunately, that undermines the whole purpose of the trophy system. That it gamifies gaming to a point where you want to achieve 100% in a game. And I think Tom, you're probably the most revered of the three of us. You've got Spitlings, Sekiro, Fallen Order?
Yep.
And any more? Any more?
I feel like there is another one. I'm just trying to...
I haven't got a single 100% on Stadia. I've not even tried.
I haven't. And as someone who's such a big PlayStation trophy fan, I have over 105 platinum trophies right now on PlayStation. Not bragging or anything, but... That could be a terrible sign of my life, actually, rather than just
the thing is, a platinum trophy on PlayStation, it feels like an extra reward. It's almost like the game saying, "You can rest now. You've done everything we can throw at you. You've done it all." But then Sony occasionally do these things like I got like an avatar pack from things like God of War and Horizon for having the platinum trophy. So there's so when you got integration, it's like, oh, if I get the platinum, I get this extra little bonus, a little custom avatar that I can show off.
100%.
Who doesn't love that stuff? Like,
yeah, the gamification's there, and anyone who uses an Android mobile phone will have noticed recently they've gamified their Play Store more. So if you buy anything, a movie, an app, a game, a TV show on Google Play, you get points for that, and those points can be converted into in-game currency for things like Crash Bandicoot Run and stuff like that. Or what I've been doing, I've been converting my points to Google Play credit, which then I spend on Stadia games. So in a weird full circle way, there is an existing setup, but it's not integrated into Stadia, where I would love it, where if you achieve the equivalent of a platinum trophy in a game, like Tom has done, he should get Google Play points or Stadia credit for completing that game to its entirety. And then in return, Tom then has £3, £4, £5 to reinvest in Google or the Stadia store because he's put so much time and effort into the system and the platform. So it's like rewarding you for playing Stadia in a perfect cycle loop of you're encouraged to then spend more and more games, which in turn means you'll play more games. And then also you get the satisfaction of pling, there's the trophy. But the fact that I can't find it easily on my app or on my platform, there's no button, there's no shortcut. It's hidden within menus in my profile. It's so convoluted. It should just be in the app at the bottom of the screen. The little trophy icon, click it there. There's my list.
Got my other one. It was Monster Boy.
I know for like on the PlayStation, if I'm playing a game on PlayStation, a trophy pops up and I go, oh cool, I feel like I'm progressing towards that ultimate goal of getting the platinum. On Stadia, it's just an annoying pop-up at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's. I feel like there's two things I'd like to see with it. Number one is I'd like to know in total how many achievements I've actually gotten as part of my Stadia profile. Of which, first of all, the profile is only really accessible on the browser-based version, not really in the mobile app. Yeah. I'd like to see how many I've 100%ed, for example. But secondly, as well, I feel like there should be some sort of level or tiered system in there. So if I look through my friends list, I could see like, oh, so and so on here is level 5 because they've gotten so many trophies. So and so is level 12 because they've got so many. Sort of like similar to, if you think about it, the old PlayStation model in a way, really. It doesn't have to be like the newer version, but like the older version where it almost like levels your accounts, which, like you said before, it all comes down to gamification at the end of the day, and giving an incentive for trying to be the best on the platform, really.
Yeah. And it goes back to gamers about like the Ubisoft games do so well as like collectathons.
Yeah.
Because there's something inherently enjoyable, I don't know whether it's in our human psyche or what, about just collecting things. Like, we're all hoarders with our game collections and our DVDs, our movies. Like, some point in our lives, there will be something we could throw away, but we keep for the sake of it. And there is something where, with even virtual trophies, there's that element of satisfaction that I've collected everything there is to collect. And with my PlayStation collection, I always look at it as if I enjoy a game so much to an extent, I want to go for that top achievement trophy to say to the developers, like, I loved your game so much, I did everything there was to do with it. That is my seal of approval. Like Chris's, yes, I loved your game so much, I put all that dedication into completing looking under every unturned stone because that's what I wanted to do. Whereas, yeah, you're right, Richie, with Stadia, it pings up and it's kind of like, I don't know where I can find the full list to look for that conveniently. So, yeah, it needs to be gamified. It needs to be more integrated. 100%. One of my top 5, definitely.
Tom, you touched... do you want to go first? Do you want to talk about trophies?
Yeah, sorry. So, interestingly, before we wrap up, here's... I've got a bit of a trivia question for you. What game on Stadia do you think has the highest number of achievements available for it?
Oh, like, so total...
So total available, and when I say game, you're gonna have to think very carefully about it because it's not as obvious as you might think. Just off the top of your heads, what would stand out to you?
Final Fantasy 15 has quite a few.
Okay, it's a good shout. It's close. I say close. It's not, but Final Fantasy 15 is up there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of games that I know for a fact are long games. They tend to have more achievements, and maybe something like the Division 2 could be up there.
Yeah, I was thinking Ubisoft just because they're generally quite big and long, but also have a lot of like collectathon things. Maybe one of the Assassin's Creeds.
Not quite. I'll keep it nice, short, and sweet for you. It's actually because we talked about it in the podcast. I feel like it's a good idea to sort of link the two together. It's actually quite cheekily the Hitman World of Assassination because it combines all 3 games into one singular title.
They're free games. They're free games.
180.
But does the achievement list class them all as one?
It does, yes. After that, I believe I've got one on my list that's 155 achievements in one game. 166, which is Dead by Daylight.
I kind of... there was a moment where I thought you were going to go a completely different way, and actually it's going to be Cake Bash.
Now, speaking of achievements then, is that not because Stadia doesn't break down the DLC separately? So whereas on PlayStation you would have the 100% for the Platinum, then you have DLC, expansion. Stadia is just one, right? You click in and all the trophies listed. So
absolutely.
A quick side mini round. PlayStation needs to stop saying my games when I've got the Platinum trophy are under 100% because of DLC, which I don't even own.
Yeah, agreed.
That is annoying. like my Final Fantasy completion is 15 on PlayStation is 50%, and I have the Blue Platinum. I just didn't play I didn't play any of the DLC because I'd already put like 120 hours into the game.
So in short, please improve the trophy and achievement system.
You too, Sony. You too.
Sony.
Everyone.
Yeah. Moving on, something that you touched on slightly, Tom, and that is the experience you have between Chromecast, between browser, or between phones. They don't really have parity in terms of the features.
No, absolutely. It's like I was just talking about just then. Even just navigating through the browser version, like obviously, always the browser experience is going to be different to a mobile experience because we use them differently. You know, we have different ways of interfacing with it in terms of using a mouse or using a finger on a screen, really. But that being said, there are features that are missing from the mobile app that I do feel should be there. For example, if I wanted to have a look at my profile, yes, I can go on my phone and I can see my achievements, for example, but there's very little I can do outside of that, really. And there's lots of other things that I feel like we should be able to do on the mobile app that at the moment it just doesn't quite mesh together quite well.
I just find it frustrating. I don't really mind if things are laid out differently because you interface with these differently. Because Chromecast and interface through a gamepad, mobile, it's touchscreen, on PC's mouse and keyboard. So I don't really mind that these things might be in different places. But I just feel like all of the features should be there on all the different ways you could play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs unified because your brain gets confused when it sees the screen for Stadia on a phone and then it sees it on a browser and stuff's not in quite the same place. Your brain does a little kind of deja vu check on. I'm sure the icon was is it not? Oh, that was my no. And yeah,
remind me, does the Chromecast have a store yet? Or do you have to use your app?
No, you can't buy things on your TV, which is crazy.
That's a huge one. Like, I can't believe it took me long. I knew there was something, I know there's a big one. Yeah.
I feel like I'm trying to think about that now. I'm having a moment.
Chromecast is just your library, isn't it? There's no store icon at the top.
No, there isn't. But you can buy things on it. If you're within a game and you can access DLC within a game, like from a game menu, then it will bring it up on the Stadia store, in which you can enter on screen. You can go through a little sort of digital touchpad if you've got Google Pay associated with it.
But you can't just sit down on the couch, pick up your game controller, and boot up Stadia and then go to the store to buy a new game.
Buy the games. You have to buy the games either on your mobile or on a computer in order for it to show up.
It's a relatively small thing because I think everyone's going to have a smartphone in the pocket anyway. But it is one of them things that might be quite frustrating, especially if people are not that familiar with the tech and they just want to play the games through a games console as they would traditionally.
Yeah. But it goes back to the crux of it all, is that if you have to take your eyes away from the screen to go to your phone to buy the game, once you're not looking at that TV, you'll be distracted by a text, a WhatsApp, a notification, and then all of a sudden you're on Twitter, you're looking at the news, and then your day's moved on. And there's a couple of times, I guarantee it, people just gave up on playing because something else. And like you said, Tom, you end up watching YouTube or something.
Yeah. Instead, but I can tell you categorically, and this sort of leads into something that I do professionally as a teacher. But categorically, the whole point of where these big tech companies come from is they're competing for your time in an app. So for as you say, Chris, 100% correct there. Any time taken away from that app for any reason whatsoever is time lost of gaining your attention. At the end of the day, Stadia is a free service. Nothing in life is actually free. They're getting something out of it. Sorry to take it a little bit of a darker place, but the reality is that they're getting something from you, and that it's user data essentially. But that being said, when we're talking about parity, let's be honest, it could be worse. It could be Nintendo Switch, where you still to this day have to go to a mobile app to enable party, to create a party and to have voice chat of all things through a mobile app, not even a device. So at least we have that on Stadia.
Yeah,
at least we have that.
Bad Nintendo. That's bad Nintendo.
It's so strange in this current, in the world that we currently live in, that we're not able to.
Online gaming's been huge, especially even in consoles, since late PS2, early PS3, Xbox. It's really, I think it's really the first Xbox really kicked off online gaming in the console space.
Yeah.
So that's how long we're talking. Nintendo still don't have basic features.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Switch.
Moving on, next we're going to talk. I'm going to fold these two. They're almost going to be treated separately, but I'm folding them together. About more different resolutions and frame rates.
Okay.
So when I say frame rates, I'm not talking about the games come out and it's only at 30 FPS and you wish it was at 60, because a lot of that comes down to the developers. I'm talking about maybe for things like esports titles that can really benefit from going beyond 60.
Yeah. I think the frame rate debate is partially down to hardware limitations, and I mean hardware on Google's server end. I don't necessarily mean that from the perspective that Google servers aren't able to handle it, but from the perspective of if they are streaming to your device 120 frames per second, it also depends on how quickly you're receiving those updates too. Yeah. So I actually think from behind the scenes that Google are, for a 60 frames per second game, are actually already rendering it at 120.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, But in order for us to receive this, like the 60, they have to do it at the 120 because of lost frames in that transit of getting the data to us, and to account for that sort of negative latency, which is sort of like the buzz phrase that we often hear there. It would be nice to see more. Absolutely, I completely agree with particularly with competitive shooting games, or anything that does require a very high, very specific frame rate. Certain games less important to have that.
Like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you can play that game absolutely fine at 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
However,
Monster Boy doesn't need to be rendered at the frame rate that it is. Yeah. Really.
Yeah. However, something like a PUBG, more frames you can get, the better.
Yeah. PUBG's a difficult one because I remember even though we've had good resolutions on Stadia, it's still nigh on impossible to see people crouched on a hill, like going prone next to a bush when you're zoomed in on a sniper scope and you can just see a pixel, a blurred pixel.
Maybe Destiny, like with the Crucible's a better example. Like when you P2P, like PvP, sorry, not P2P.
The resolution discussion warrants a little bit more discussion, though, doesn't it? Really, because devices of all different shapes and sizes, whether it's mobile phones, whether it's tablets, and so on, screen sizes do differ. Some screen sizes are wider than others, and probably need to run 1440p, 2K, Ultra HD, and so on. There, so maybe we do need more supported. I think resolutions
for phone as well. A lot of it can be. I've seen so many comments about people complaining about black bars either side of the phone because Stadia only renders out in that 16:9 format, whether it's in 1080p or 4K. That means if you've got a wide screen phone or a widescreen monitor, it's just there's going to be parts of your screen which are not doing anything, basically.
It's just wasted space, isn't it? Especially with modern smartphones, like the aspect ratios for probably all of our mobiles and many of the viewers' mobiles out there, the aspect ratio is so widescreen. Like I have a Samsung that's edge-to-edge display, and you're totally right, Richie. When I play Stadia, I've got a good 1.5 centimeter black border each side, which it's not the end of the world. Just like when I watch old stuff on Disney Plus, and it's in like that old TV ratio. It's not terrible, but there are phones that could benefit hugely from it. And I know it's a bit more difficult. It's not like YouTube where you can just pinch and zoom and you lose some of the framing around it. But yeah, it would be great to see going forward, just so you can use all of that coverage space.
A perfect example would be Google's own Pixel 5, which is in a 19.5:9 aspect ratio. So considering 1080p is 16:9, you can see how much wider that display is. And that extra width is just going to be black.
Yeah. I mean, Sony just put out they announced a new phone this week that is top end to top end, just screen. And I think it's a really narrow phone, but it's very, very long for Sony widescreen. And you would just have a good 2 centimeters each, I guess, either side of your phone, which is just wasted floor space.
Yeah, it goes to PC monitors as well. A lot of gaming monitors, you can come in more wide format, or even like that 2K. So most gaming, I don't know many gaming monitors like that are reasonable that actually are 4K, because you need a pretty beefy GPU to push out 4K, and at the usual distance away from a monitor, it's just you're not really going to see much of the benefit anyway.
Yeah, it's like when VR warns you to stay so far back. Don't hit people. Watch out for lampshades. Like if you're watching 4K, get back.
And to wrap things up, the one that everyone knew that was coming, the UI.
I mean, we've kind of touched on the UI throughout all the other topics. Like the trophy integration is definitely UI based.
It's hard not to when it's like, it's UI. It's how you interact with it.
But let's talk about what the people really want, What do we want, Richie?
We want custom folders.
Okay.
No, that's what I want, to organize my games.
I think I'm with you on that. We definitely need some sort of way of organizing games. I'm at the point now where if I go on my phone and I load up the Stadia app and I'm looking at my list of games, the app can't even handle it, and it doesn't load all of them. Like I'm scrolling through, and half the time it'll miss out one or two, and it takes a while for it to actually load in. It doesn't even cache the images locally. It has to fetch them every single time, and it's not difficult to actually code that in.
Yeah, of course.
So that needs to be done.
The gold standard, the search bar, both the store and in your home game library. But the reason I like folders is because I can have it set up a folder for party games. So all the party games, sort of stuff like we would play on stream, like Killer Queen Black or Cake Bash or Get Packed, Ember. I can put all in that folder, and they're there for me. And that's what That's what I've done in the past on PlayStation, although now hard drive space is limiting.
Yeah. Even something like within the store or within the game library, what I'd like to be able to do is just filter games based on like my personal preferences. So things like I want to look for games that have local multiplayer, like couch co-op. I want to be able to literally select a filter of that, and it shows me all of the games I have or all of the games I could buy. Things that have like online, online 4-player or something like that, or 4+. I want to be able to look for RPGs, single player. I want to be able to filter by things like that. Games less than £9. It's all those sorts of things that you would expect to be able to do anyway. Like if you look at any, I'm pretty sure we've talked about the fact that the PlayStation 3 and Vita stores are shutting down on a previous episode of the podcast. Mm-hmm. Pretty sure the PlayStation store for those consoles allows that sort of filtering and searching. So,
yeah, it's one of those things that we could forgive it. November 2019. Yeah, it's April 2021 now. Like that's so far detached to not have a search bar still.
I don't know how forgivable it is even in launch, because we're talking about basic features to interact with the store. Like I can forgive things like not having many filters and stuff in your homepage and stuff, because at the point when it first comes out, you're not having a huge amount of games. But the store should be easy to access, and I know they come up with these categories that they put games into, but they're constantly changing them, which actually makes things worse. Yeah. And usually you have to scroll about 8 hours to find the all games section, probably where you were looking for anyway.
It goes back to Tom's point when he said about like that memory, that precious time that you get to market something. And I would hate to think that someone out there who gets a free Stadia code, they think, I might try this thing. I've heard better things now than I did at launch. And they boot up the app and go, I wonder if they have this. This is my favorite game. How can they find that game? And they open up the games, they go to all tiles, even if it's like SpongeBob, for example, and they go in and go, scroll, all games, and they can't find it. They go, you know what? Maybe it's not for me. It doesn't have one of my favorite games of all time. And they leave. And then it's sat there. It was one scroll further away. And if there was a search bar, they would have just went S-P-O. Oh, there it is. Yeah. It's awesome. Bye.
It's first impressions sometimes. Like the first thing you do when you get a new game console, especially if this is a completely new platform, I don't own any games on this, the first thing I'm doing, I'm going to the store.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And while we're on that note as well, looking at the store right now, I do want to talk very briefly about the mentality that goes behind the ordering of the different categories. Like I 100% get the on sale being at the top. Like that makes sense. New releases, great. Second, Stadia Pro deals. All right, I have Stadia Pro, so that's great. But for somebody who doesn't have Stadia Pro, is that going to be at that point within the store? Randomly, all games is just like plonked right in the middle. Like if I keep going, I've then got add-ons, then I've got free games, pre-orders, and then it breaks it down into categories, and it doesn't really make sense the further into the store you go.
For me, there's a couple of fixtures I would have right at the top all the time, like new releases, of course. Stadia, the on sale. I would just I'd have Stadia Pro deals and on sale just to have a single category. To be honest, you have that big red thing that says it's the Pro sale. If you have Pro, you get this. If not. And then all games would probably be next.
Or even...
And everything else would be below that.
Let's just save some screen space. Let's literally just change the on-sale section at the top here, or some of these extra categories, and just put 3 buttons side by side next to each other. A button for on sale. Press it. it takes you to that page. A button for all games, or perhaps like the Stadia Pro games, or all the pre-orders, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's loads of ways they could integrate it.
Yeah.
And I don't particularly care too much about how they integrate it, but they need to.
Yeah. I'm no design specialist for UI, but it just seems like at the moment there's a lot of not dead space, but like overused space where I feel like, the store in particular just feels like category after category after category after category, and it could just be simplified so much easier as well.
And the more games that come to the platform, the worse it gets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, my next, I've got a challenge for you all, then, just to add a bit of fun in before we wrap up. Attack on Titan has had free space to live at the top of the games list for nearly a year and a half now, right? Just because it starts with an A. Yeah. Like that's that shouldn't be the case. That a game that, by the way, has never been on sale still yet. I don't think, and they don't need to, because guess what? They've got top billing on the entire games list over Cyberpunk, Valhalla, all these other titles. What I'd like you to do, gentlemen, is get your Stadia apps open.
All right,
no. Get your Stadia apps open. I want you to be on the home screen, so the middle, home with your games ready to play.
You can join in at home, by the way.
You can join in at home, right?
Yeah.
I would like you to both get me to, on the count of 3, Zombie Army Deluxe Edition. 3, 2, 1, go.
Right. Oh God, no. I've just all right. I'm going alphabetical. You can organise your games by alphabetical.
Oh man, right here. I've clicked on all games. I'm currently waiting.
Is that the deluxe edition?
No, I don't have the deluxe edition.
No.
Damn it! I need to go to the store.
I think Tom might have this one in the bag.
Oh, hang on, have I gone deluxe edition? I clicked on the super deluxe edition.
It's not that's the wrong one.
So
Zombie Army 4.
Tom's one, and Richie's is loading.
Case in point, the store right there. Just that alone, the fact that whole list then took quite a while. It takes quite a while for that to load up. That's not good. That's not good design. That needs to be fixed.
Richie's still like,
I'm going to try and.
There you go. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, that's me trapped in the phone.
Oh, we got a message.
But again, then the reverse of that is now poor Zombie Army has to lavish out in the barrels of the store list because it starts with a Z or a Z.
That's a good game. And Zombie Army is
better than Attack on Titan, in my opinion.
You've never played Attack on Titan.
Again, you're totally right, Tom. The interface needs to be more. I don't want to say more tabulated because they've got a lot of tabs, but it can. They need to understand they can go horizontal as well as vertical through the menus. You're right. It should just have pro, sale, top games, whatever across the top, and then the menu should be broken down within them. Surely, like everything else.
What they've done is, I think they've built one UI for 3 different ways of accessing it. Well, actually 2 because it's not on Chromecast. But I don't think it works very well for either. But the thing is, if you go on the Sony's PlayStation app or on the Sony's web store or via your PlayStation, you're getting basically 3 different experiences catered for that device.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when we're asking for a feature that helps us buy games here, like
we
want to give you money.
Like, again, for those people watching along at home as well, already that we are, while we are invested in the platform, we are critical of it as well in its shortcomings. You have to be in order to truly love it and to truly support it. You want to see it grow. You want to see it flourish. But we do want to support it. Hell, as Richie just said, we're talking about the fact that we want to buy games, but it's making it difficult to do that.
I can see how this episode might come off slightly negative because we're talking about things that are lacking, but I think by shining a light on what we believe are some key features that are lacking, I hope that it's like taken as more of a positive light, that he's what we think you should be working on. And a lot of this comes from our experiences in various Discord servers or on Twitter or on Facebook, and like literally interacting with people who have the platform.
Yeah, it's not just us. And again, it's there's nothing wrong with constructive criticism.
Well,
if something can be improved, us as consumers have the right to say like, oh, this could be a bit better,
Yeah. Well, the widescreen. Yeah, the widescreen
Sad.
resolution stuff, I literally basically stole from Facebook of people asking about the black bars. I hadn't thought about it before I saw that. That was a few months ago I saw that now, but I was like, oh yeah, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And look at that.
Yeah.
Search bar,
Yeah.
me 4.
Yeah.
There it is.
Just like that.
Just like that. Add-ons.
Just like that.
Tab.
That's all we have time for this week. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure if you want to support us, we do have YouTube memberships, so click that join button below. For as little as 99 pence, you can get this show a whole 5 days early, and it helps us support the channel. You get a little Stadia controller next to your name when you're on chat, such as our Thursday night streams, which you should check out. We did one yesterday.
We did. It was really fun.
We did. It was a great time. Lots
it was
of fun with
fantastic.
that.
I had a great time doing that one. People who don't know, we record this on a Sunday.
Before we've even decided what to play.
Make sure you check out the podcast that comes out every single Monday. And if you want to join the conversation further, we have a Discord channel, and the link to join that is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. My name's been Richie.
I've been Tom.
I've been Chris.
That's all we have for you. Quest completed.